Government of Kenya is seeking to raise 80 billion from these 3 treasury bonds. So this is how your investment might look like in case you're interested. I'm going to be using an example of 1 million Kenyan shillings. Now, we have the first bond. Actually, all 3 bonds are reopened. They're not new bonds. So the first bond is FXD1 2022, 15 years, but it's going to go for 12 years since it was issued in 2022, so it's being reopened again. So your investment is going to be for 12 years. The interest rate, that is the coupon rate, how much you're going to be making per year is 13.94%. Then we have accrued interest. This one is accrued interest. I will explain this in a bit. So in terms of how much you're going to receive, if you're going to invest 1 million Kenyan shillings, you just take the amount that you're going to invest in times the interest rate. That is the interest that you're supposed to get. But you're supposed to take away 10%. Any bond that is for 10 years and above, you're going to be taxed 10% instead of 15% or 0% if it's an infrastructure bond. So I've already taken out the 10%. You're going to remain with 90%, which I have represented as a decimal. Whatever interest that we make is net of everything. So I have divided that with 2 because interest is usually paid out twice a year. Twice a year, that is every 6 months. In this case, for the month of May, you're going to make 62,739. For the month of November, that is in November, you're also going to receive 62,739. The cycle is going to continue. May, November, next year, May, next year, November. Remember, the interest is fixed. It's fixed. So from the beginning, from the onset, we already know how much you're going to receive. So in terms of how much you should expect to pay for this bond, we can't really know exactly. But what we know is that, 1, there's this concept of accrued interest. Interest that you don't deserve, so you're supposed to pay it back. That's how I define it. So with 1 million shillings, for every 100 shillings that you invest, you have to pay 0.5362. So what about a million? So a million divided by 100 times 0.5362, you're going to pay 53.62 extra on top of the 1 million investment that you're going to make, plus an X. We don't know what the X is. The X is going to be determined by the market. People who are investing more than 2 million, they have the ability of expressing the interest rate that they should be given, which is going to affect the price at which they're going to pay for this bond. So this one we will know later. It can be more, it can be less. By that I mean it can be a positive number, it can be a negative number. If it's a negative number, let's say negative 6,000, so you're going to pay less 6,000. In such a case, you're going to say you've bought the bond at a discount. You're paying less than you should. We don't know this. We will know once the results are out. Now, let's go to the second bond. So I've mentioned that payment is in May and November. For the second bond, FXD1 2022-25. So initially it was for 25 years, but if you're going to invest in this bond, if you're going to lend out money to the government, it's going to go for 22.5 years. This is a long time. It's a long time, but still it's an investment worth taking. The coupon rate, that is the interest rate, is 14.188%. You can see it's slightly higher than this. Actually, I rounded up this number. It was 13.932 something, okay? Yeah, this one is definitely more, and from the calculations, you get to see that. And people usually prefer high coupon bonds. It's always about the money. Time is not necessarily a factor for some. So this is the accrued interest that you don't deserve, so you have to pay it back. It has to be added when you are transferring money to CBK. So in terms of what you're going to receive, very direct. You take the 1 million times the 14.18%, which is the yearly interest that you should expect to receive. Yeah, so this is the interest. But we have to take away 10% because the bond is for 10 years and above. So we're going to remain with 90%, which is represented by 0.9. Now the interest that we get, I have divided it by 2 because payment is done twice a year. So every 6 months with 1 million, that is in October and in April. October, April, you're going to be receiving 63,846. 63,846. What do you think? What do you think? So in terms of how much you're going to pay, again, this is the accrued interest, this one here. And for every 100 shillings, you have to pay 0.5457. So what about a million? Yeah, you're going to get 54.57. So this one, from the beginning, we already know what it is. Plus the 1 million. This number here can be a negative, or rather it can be less than a million, or it can be a positive. So it's going to depend on X, which we don't know. We expect the market to determine that. It can be at a premium, it can be at a discount. At a premium, it's when you are paying more than the 1 million worth of investment. At a discount is when you're paying less than the 1 million, but you'll get your 1 million back. Now let's analyze the third bond. This one is interesting because one, it's the shortest of all the three in terms of duration. If you're going to invest in this bond, you should expect to have your money back by 7.6 years, in 7.6 years time. It's offering the lowest interest rate. In fact, even the bonds for last month, they didn't offer such. There was one for 12.75 and it was undersubscribed. The government had to reopen it again in form of a tap sale because guess what? Investors look at the interest. So this is the lowest one. You know what? Let me just do this, then I'll tell you something. So in terms of how much you should expect to receive, 1 million times the 12% times the 90%, which is after tax. I divide it by 2. So in October and in April, you should expect 54,000. In terms of payment, now this one doesn't have accrued interest. It's zero. It's zero. Because what you'll notice is that with this bond, it's being reopened for the second time or the third time, but it's a reopened bond. They've made it such that the cycle is going to be the same. It's going to fall within the previous cycle by which this bond was first issued. So that's why there's no accrued interest, the timelines. All right. Other thing that is unique with this bond is that apart from it not having an accrued interest because of the timeline, is that the duration by which you should place a bid on this bond is longer. What I mean is that for the first 2 bonds, you have a deadline. That is by 30th April. Okay. 30th April, you should place a bid in case you're interested in the first 2 bonds. For the third bond, the deadline is not 30th April. The deadline is on 7th May. So you can see that for this bond, it has 1 extra week, such that if the deadline for these 2 has passed, you still have an opportunity 1 week extra to place a bid on this bond. 30th April, 7th May. If you want to get back your money faster, such that you're not patient enough for 22.5 years to get back your 1 million shillings, which by then you can argue that, what about inflation in the next 22.5 years? There's that argument. In as much as it's offering a higher interest, you can always go for this one, but it has the lowest interest. Even take a look at the numbers. For this bond, you'd be making 54,000 every 6 months. For this bond, you'll be making 63,846. You can see that there's a difference of 54.63 of 9,000 shillings, and the gap gets bigger if you're going to invest more money. So you can imagine 9k. You're losing 9k for the sake of getting your money earlier on. And even this other bond, for this other bond, it's around 8K. So you lose around 8K if you decide to go for this bond. But which bond would you go for? I'm just curious. What do you do with the money or with the interest that you make every 6 months? What do you do with it? Assuming that you invested in a bond last year and every 6 months you receive interest, what do you use the money for? Because if you had something like 3M and you have kids that you expect to be in high school for in the next 12 years, then you can just put a bond here, a 3M bond if you have it. And every 6 months, you'd be making something like times 3, around 180,000 Kenyan shillings. 180,000 Kenyan shillings is enough to pay school fees. 6 months, you get 180K, you pay school fees. Then you wait another 6 months, you get 180K, you pay school fees. So that's something that you can look out for. It can be a great way to save for your retirement, a great way to make passive income that can even pay your rent, especially if you're going to buy this bond and this bond, since they pay out in different months: May, November, October, April. Thank you for watching this video. Give it a like. See you in the next one.